The 2021 rifle season is over in Missouri, and if you're in one of those states where the rifle season opens up a little later, it's winding down for you. And hopefully, you saw a bunch of bucks chasing does and you filled every tag you wanted to. But maybe you weren't so lucky. Maybe you sat in your tree stand or your blind all day, and instead of seeing deer, you saw squirrels. And instead of hearing bucks grunting while they're chasing does, all you heard were gunshots from your neighbors. Those are some very frustrating sits. It makes it seem like the deer know exactly where your property boundaries are and know to avoid them during rifle season. And honestly, they could. And there could be some very not so obvious reasons why you are not having success during rifle season and all of your neighbors are. There are a lot of reasons why your neighbors could be having all the luck and you're not, and all the hunting reasons why. You're not very stealthy. You do not have a good scent control. You access your property very poorly. Let's throw all of those out in this video, because in this video we're going to go over 3 reasons why your habitat is to blame for your crappy rifle season. But before I step on your toes and tell you why you are the reason why your rifle season sucks, do me a favor, and if this is your first time on my channel, hit that subscribe button and make sure you click that bell icon so you can be notified every time I upload a video. And the first reason why your habitat is to blame for your crappy rifle season is it severely lacks good cover. Secure cover is the limiting factor during hunting season, especially during rifle season when tons of hunters take to the woods at the exact same time. Deer are looking for these areas with secure cover so they can escape this sudden surge of hunting pressure, and does are also looking for this cover to escape bucks that are pestering them for some action. So if your property severely lacks good cover, they're going to go someplace else to find it. And you might catch a buck going from one of your neighbor's properties. Maybe he's got a little bit of cover on his property. They might cross your property to get to another neighbor's. And you can hope for luck like that, but I don't like to rely on luck. And usually if they're going to go across your property, they're going to stop at one of those food plots you spend all your time in, but if you don't have good cover, it's probably going to be after dark. So to fix this, you need to spend a lot less time in your food plots and more time in your woods with a chainsaw. You need to open up that canopy. You need to clear out those large monoculture cedar patches, spray out the cool season grasses, and implement some prescribed fire to get some cover growing on the ground. Not only is this going to help your cover, it's going to provide a lot more food during the winter, gives another reason for deer to be on your property during those harsh winter months. You need things growing down at a deer's level to make them feel safe on your property. And if you do this, if you provide good secure cover on your property, you will see more deer during daylight hours, and maybe you'll be one of those hunters that gets to take a shot at a good buck. And the second reason your habitat is severely hurting your hunting is because everything looks exactly the same. For the average landowner, and this is especially true for your recreational landowners, your land probably looks exactly like your neighbor's property. Now you might have better food plots or bigger food plots, and you might have a feeder over there that deer go to all the time, but for the most part, everything looks the same. So if everything looks the same, deer have absolutely no reason to go to one place and not the other. And you might argue that, well, if you've got better food plots than your neighbors, then the deer might want to spend a lot more time on your property than theirs. And that might be true, but like we just discussed, having good food plots does not necessarily mean you're going to have good rut hunting. And if the only attractive part of your property is your food plots, then you are forced to hunt them if you want to see any deer, unless you've got some just good natural pinch points and funnels from the topography of your farm. And even then, there's a high chance that deer are just kind of wandering aimlessly across your property through the woods looking for any leftover acorns from those pitiful overcrowded oaks. But let's just say that you instead started working on your habitat. You created some bedding thickets, you edge feathered, you restored native habitat. And basically, a lot of the stuff we just talked about in the last tip, that solution is going to be the same for all of these. Work on your habitat, provide good cover, provide good food through the native forbs, and suddenly your property is going to be the place that deer want to spend most of their time, and it's going to be during daylight hours. You want to set your property apart from all of your neighbors. You want to be able to look at an aerial map whenever it gets updated, when the satellites fly over and spy on us. You want to be able to look on that map and be like, that's my property right there, and it looks nothing like the surrounding area. Then your neighbors are going to be wondering why all the shots are happening over there on your property. Then they might start doing what you're doing. Then the hunting just becomes I don't know, that ceiling of your potential becomes so much higher. And the third reason your habitat is to blame for your crappy rifle season is there's just no defined place for deer to be bedding. This can make it a nightmare sneaking in on a morning hunt. Deer could be bedded anywhere and everywhere if they're bedded on your property at all, and you could be bumping deer no matter where you're trying to hunt. And that could be why your neighbors are seeing them all. That's why all the shots are happening everywhere around you. You are chasing them off your property. And if you've got those fancy food plots you're hoping to use to draw all the deer in with, if they're not bedding on your property, they're probably not even going to show up till after dark. Now you might get lucky and your neighbor bumps one of his deer onto your property, or you get one of those bucks that goes on one of his random excursions and he just happens to wander by your stand. But again, like I've said before, I do not like to rely on luck. There's enough luck involved in hunting as it is, so I want to take as much of it out of it as possible. So by creating these bedding thickets or just improving the quality of cover in specific parts of your property, you can encourage deer to bed in these specific spots so you can then sneak into your stands and not bump them all over the place. And this is where a lot of your hunting strategy could come into play. If your property requires you to access at certain points based on topography or just road access in general, you can set this bedding area up, encourage them to bed somewhere else, so then you can sneak in and not run them off your property. And knowing where these specific bedding thickets are allows you to hunt them more strategically during rifle season, because at least here in Missouri, rifle season tends to fall right during peak rut. So that was 3 reasons why your habitat is to blame for your crappy rifle season. And hopefully these tips will help you be more successful in future rifle seasons and see better deer. If you've got any more tips you'd like to share, make sure you leave those down in the comments below. Hit that like button if you liked this video, share it if you found it helpful, and make sure that you are subscribed so you can stay informed.